Hey everybody, it's Jay Timms. Hope you're doing well. Today we're going to talk about how leaders can create ownership and a sense of loyalty within their organization without any signing bonuses or extra benefits or spending a lot of time and energy in places that are just absolutely wasted. Now listen, I've been with a lot of companies in my life, either consulting or working for them, and I think the biggest mistake that I have seen organizations make is that they don't understand what ownership truly is. They think that accountability and creating boundaries around performance and behavior is what creates loyalty and ownership, and that's completely wrong. It's absolutely the opposite. You know, I made this mistake myself many years ago when I was in an organization, and the environment was really tough. There was a lot of stress, there was a lot of pressure. You know, I spent a lot of my time doing audits, I spent my time doing checklists with people. It was more about, I'm going to catch you doing something wrong, than it was about creating an environment where people wanted to grow and develop. And this really created a lot of problems for me because I was working 70, 80 hours a week. I had no time for personal stuff or relaxing. My phone was always going, emails always going off, people always asking for permission for things. And I didn't have time to do the stuff in my personal life or my professional life that I wanted to do, which was really help people become better. Now flip this a little bit, and what ends up happening is that employees, on the other hand, when they're part of that environment, it's not fun. And I can tell you that because I had a massive amount of turnover. And so what would happen is I'd come into the office or I'd come into the building and everybody knew that Jay was there and they would put on this show. There was a ton of really a lot of lying, a lot of hiding things, a lot of just nervous energy around me. And that's not a great environment for people to be in. And so really what you want to do is you want to create this balance. And I think, you know, the only way that I can really show this to you and put it into a visual is by giving you a ratio. You know, if you think about the amount of effort when you are trying to hold people accountable as opposed to the amount of ownership that people are taking naturally. Really, when I was talking about that first part where I was really pushing people and holding people accountable, there was just this ton of effort and really very little ownership. I mean, people would call me and ask me for permission to do the most basic stupid things because they didn't want to screw up and get in trouble. Really, that's not what we want to create. What we want to create is we want that scale to slide this way. We want your ability to create ownership to be done with as little effort as possible on your part so that you can get in there and you can do the things that you really want to do and have the kind of lifestyle that you want. Now, I figured out how to do this, and it actually was not as difficult as you would think. And so I want to give this gift to you today. So we're going to go really deep, really quick into a lot of things. And I'm going to give you an opportunity at the end. If you want to learn more, I'll show you where you can go to get more resources and more information on this stuff. Sound good? You ready for this? All right, fantastic. When we really think about how to create this environment, there really are 5 big ideas that I want you to be aware of. So these 5 big ideas are, number 1, your brain on drugs. Now this isn't the commercial from when you were younger, but if you think about it, this is your brain. All right. So if I was to saw the brain down in half, there really are 2 important parts in dealing with daily functioning. And the first part is this part right in this area here. So if I was to take lasers and go here and here, where those crosshairs meet, this is an area in your brain called the limbic system. So this limbic system is the place in your brain where all of your, well, not all, but most of your emotions are created. It's a drug generating factory. And this is actually a part of your brain that we share with most of the animals out there that have instincts. And I mean, I've got 2 dogs. They have a limbic system because they freak out when there's a squirrel in the backyard. So this is the number 1, this is the first piece of your brain that's really important in dealing with daily functioning. The second part is right up here. And it basically goes like that. You didn't know you were getting a biology lesson today, did you? This is called the prefrontal cortex. Now, the frontal cortex is responsible for planning ahead, organizing, thinking, making decisions, figuring out consequences to your behavior. It's that smart part of our brain that separates us from all of the other animals on the planet and makes us smart-ish. Here's an interesting fact. When this area is highly charged, so when you're emotional, this area shuts down. It is physically impossible for you to be emotional and intelligent at the same time. So when we create this environment of accountability and really intense pressure for our employees, what we're doing is we're firing up this limbic system, which is shutting down the frontal cortex, which basically means you are handicapping your people by creating this environment of, I'm the boss, you need to listen, do what I tell you to, don't argue. And I'm gonna make sure and I'm gonna catch you doing something wrong. When you create that environment, you are literally handicapping the people that you have spent so much time and so much money getting into place, all right? So principle number one is your brain on drugs. Principle number two is multiple brains are better than one. I had a mentor once, and we would sit in these large meetings, and it was really interesting. He would just sit there and wouldn't say anything for pretty much the whole meeting. And every one of us sitting around that table would talk and we'd present our ideas, we'd go around and we'd discuss, we'd brainstorm, and Neil would never ever say anything until the very end. And I took him out for lunch one day and I said to him, Neil, I noticed this. Why do you do that? Like, you're supposed to be leading this. Why don't you get involved? And he said, Jay, I've learned something about myself. I am not a very intelligent person. I'm not overly smart, but what I'm really good at is recognizing good ideas. He understood the principle that multiple brains are better than one. He actually was a really smart guy. He was a vet and just a really intelligent guy. And what he understood though was that the other people that were sitting around that table were as intelligent or even more intelligent than he was. He understood the principle of surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. So multiple brains are better than one. That's principle number two. Number three is ownership is driven by shared values. If you want to create ownership in your organization, the easiest way to do that is to say, this is where we're going, and have everybody go, oh, I really want to go there with you. It's kind of like that movie Speed, where Keanu Reeves and Julia Roberts were trapped in this. No, it wasn't Julia Roberts. It was Sandra Bullock. Were trapped in this bus, and there was a bomb on it. And if it went below a certain speed, the bomb would explode and kill everybody on the bus. They just went, and I mean that movie was just intense. The whole thing was just on the edge of your seat, and you were just like, all of this emotion. But the problem was that they had no destination. When you create a culture in your organization where it's all about do it, let's go, what you're creating is you're creating an environment where there's a ton of pressure, a ton of energy, but nobody knows where you're going. So if you create that, this is the destination, this is where we're going, come on with me, people are more likely to come along and take ownership in the ride when they understand and believe and connect to that destination. Now this really does relate to number four. Number four is engagement is driven by relationships. I am a very emotional person. I mean, I'm a psychologist. I sit down and I talk to people and work on their emotions. So emotions are very, very familiar to me and I'm okay with them. I have been challenged in the past with some of my verbiage with the people that I've worked with and the companies that I've worked with. I am completely okay with telling people how much I care about them. And I've even used the L word, love, sometimes. Putting my arm around them and saying, look, I really care about you. I really love you and I appreciate everything you do. Thank you, or whatever. Building those relationships, sitting down and getting to know your people, doing those one-on-ones, not about work. Forget about work. It's about them, getting to know what are they struggling with in their personal life. What are some of the things that you can do to support them? So engagement is driven by those relationships. If you want to create ownership, you have to build relationships with your people. That's number four. Number five is you cannot do everything. Stop trying. You are not Superman. You are not Superwoman. I grew up in a very, very Christian household, and as a teenager, I mean, like I said a couple minutes ago, I'm emotional. I am always trying to help people, and I'm trying to, wrap my arms around everybody. And my dad, I remember, I don't remember the situation, but I remember my dad sitting at the kitchen table and slamming his hand down on the table and say, "Jay, you are not Jesus Christ. There was only one, and you are not him." And I thought to myself, that's true. But the principle is, you are not going to be able to do this alone. Stop trying. Take your ego out of this. Get rid of it. You need to ask for help. Help from the people that work for you. Help from mentors. Help from consultants. Help from other people who have been there. Stop trying to do this on your own. These 5 principles, if you understand them in general, are going to create that culture in your organization where you have ownership, where people just totally want to do the best job and they love the company and they're willing to stick together. It's simple. It's those 5 things. If you do those, I promise you that you will have a more productive team and more success.